Us to start again, and we've also formed a quorum. So let's start the second meeting. Dr. Chung Lai Wan. Thank you, Chairman. The DAB supports this proposal of constructing an RCHE in Anderson Road. Yet the administration should have some long-term plans. In the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, what will our direction be? Well, originally we're discussing fund allocation for this RCHE in Kwun Tong, but gradually we digressed to territory-wide issues. Earlier, the Hong Kong Housing Society would like to construct something similar to elderly HOS in Tin Shui Wai. Eventually, that fell through. Some middle class thought that the administration eventually was caring about them. But eventually, nothing came forth due to economy, land supply, and so forth. I understand that the administration is still studying long-term plans. I think we need a more forward-looking blueprint for the future. In the urban areas, we don't have enough land sites. To construct RCHAs in the urban areas may not be good for the elderly people. You should also consider the outlying islands, the fringe urban areas, the country parks, green belts, and so forth. We need to do greening because the elderly people should have somewhere to walk. Elderly people don't go to country parks. They don't hike. So you should consider village houses as well. So should you not adopt a comprehensive approach in your deliberation? Mrs. Chan, considering the honourable member's question about our plan in the medium and long term, in his policy address, the CE announced and commissioned the Elderly Commission to formulate an elderly plan. The Elderly Commission is working in full steam on the subject in terms of premises, manpower, service styles, and so forth. Will consider this issue. We're now doing public consultation. What issues, what areas should we look into? Earlier, we went to the panel on welfare services in this council to submit our reports. As regards the actual contents of the detailed plans, we'll draft a report for members' consideration. The aging population has posed challenges for us. Dr. Chung Lai Wan, any follow-up? I'd like to supply a piece of supplementary information. For contract homes, for non-subsidized homes, members would like to know the usage rate. As at the end of September last year, for non-subsidized contract homes, the usage rate was almost 94%. In other words, we need to work on another 6%. But in fact, for RCHAs, this is a normal turnover rate. Dr. Chung Lai Wan? Just a brief supplement. At the moment, many elderly people are queuing up for government-subvented RCHAs because those homes are better. So for those with financial means or without financial means, they all want to be admitted to government-subvented RCHAs. absolutely it's time for you to take care of the middle class, such that will feel more comfortable. Then some people will shift from this queue to the other queue. And for the middle class queue, maybe you can charge them more. Those who can afford those homes will go to that queue. It's worthwhile to conduct a detailed study in your elderly plan. Any quick reply, Mrs. Chan? Thank you. The Elderly Commission is conducting another study that's on service vouchers. Precisely, we'd like to see how we can mobilize the existing resources in society to offer more choices for the elderly people. Our team is conducting a feasibility study. If the proposal is feasible, we can proceed with a pilot scheme as soon as possible. Does any other member wish to speak? Does any other member wish to speak? If not, if members don't have other questions, I now put this item to the vote. Will those in favor of the proposals in paper FCR 2014-1540 please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think the majority of the voting members support the proposals. The proposals are endorsed. Item 3 on the agenda, paper FCR 2014-1538. Members are invited to approve a new commitment of $175.767 billion for the establishment of the next generation information technology infrastructure for Social Welfare Department. On the 14th of April last year, the Welfare Services Panel of this Council was consulted. In attendance to answer members' questions, we have the Principal Assistant Secretary for Labor and Welfare, Ms. Sherwing Man, the Acting Deputy Director of Social Welfare, Ms. Maria Lau, the Principal Social Work Officer, Ms. Sheila Kong, the Senior Systems Manager from the Social Welfare Department, Mr. Lee Tat Hong. Mr. Chong Kwak-chi will report on the discussion of the panel. Thank you, Chairman. On the 14th of April last year, the panel discussed the funding proposal. In principle, members support the funding proposals, but they asked that the SWD work on the period of return for this infrastructure and to provide details for the proposal. The administration already provided the supplementary information to the Welfare Services Panel. Does any member wish to speak or ask questions? Does any member wish to ask questions? If not, if members don't have other questions, I'll put this item to the vote. Will those in favor of the proposals in paper FCR 2014-1538 please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think the majority of the voting members support the proposals. The proposals are endorsed. Item 4, paper FCR 2014-1546A. This item invites members to approve the upgrading of 770CL to Category A at an estimated cost of $63.4 million in money of the day prices for carrying out a planning, engineering, and architectural study and associated site investigation works for the proposed commercial development and the development of other economic activities at the Hong Kong Boundary Crossing Facilities Island of Hong Kong Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. In attendance to answer members' questions, we have the Deputy Secretary for Development, Mr. Chan Chi-ming, the Director of Civil Engineering and Development, Mr. Hon Chi-kang, the Project Manager from CEDD, Mr. Kwun Tong, the Assistant Director of Planning from the Planning Department, Ms. Amy Chung. Does any member wish to speak? Mr. Wong Kok Heng, 5 minutes, questions and answers. Thank you, Chairman. I speak in support of the proposals in the paper. In fact, during the last term, as the member from New Territories West, I already expressed the wish of Tung Chung residents such that we could develop bridgehead economy as soon as possible to help with employment and business setting up. Thank you. No answers are required.
Does any other member wish to speak? Ms. Ang Jiang, Chairman, I support the proposed study. I hope that this study will be done thoroughly according to the plans and other information. I'm concerned whether the future shopping facilities will be accessible. Would it be just like the Kai Tak cruise terminal, and no one is going there? Don't just do it for the sake of doing it. I hope the project can be properly done. In principle, well, I support this study. Mr. Hon, Chairman, the airport island is accessible by ferry. It would be linked to the link road, and also there will be connectivity with Hong Kong. But in this study, we are going to look at transport in detail. I'm not saying, I don't think Mr. Jiang is saying that there's no road, but it's a cul-de-sac. It doesn't really lead to anyone, and you don't have a lot of people using it. Mr. Chen Ka-piu. I'm also a district councillor for the Islands District. This is so belated. Actually, the district council in 2009 said that the Bureau should try to carry out some studies on the promotion of the bridgehead economy, and there should be a multidisciplinary platform. Now it's come so late. We don't know whether the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge can be constructed as scheduled. Do you have any information on the completion date of the bridge? And also in Annex C, the scope of the study is set out. I hope there can be more details. You should not be just looking at the concept of commercial development. You should allow people to be more business-minded for Tuen Mun and North NT, and there should be opportunities for people to have to buy cheaper goods because prices in Tung Chung are high. And you're also going to look at the environmental impact, including ventilation. Please also look at the Lantau Link, and you are going to build an artificial island for the collection of tolls. With such facilities, aside for the economic development of the Lantau Island, please look into this. Second, please also look into the air quality of Tung Chung. After the commissioning of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, what kind of vehicles will be using the bridge? Would there be any requirements on the vehicular related standards? Will Tung Chung be affected? Mr. Hall? I know that there will be a discussion on the bridge at the transport panel meeting next week. So I will be giving more detailed information on that occasion. Returning to this item, well, I've heard members that this is not just about development of commercial activities. We should also cover other activities. So compared with the PWSC paper, we have revised this submission. So we are going to consider the development of other economic activities. With 2 years and more, we are going to carry out a very detailed study. On environmental study, air quality will be looked into in detail. Very likely, we are going to conduct an EIA, and air quality is one of the parameters that we would cover. Mr. Tan Ka-Piu, Mr. Frankie Yik, at the PWSC, when we discussed this item, we said we hoped that the government can set aside some lands for the logistics industry. So far, we haven't heard anything positive from the government. At the landing point of this bridge, it will be very important for the provision of logistics service by third parties. I support this item. I hope you can consider this suggestion. Chairman, I've heard the member at the PWSC meeting. We heard many suggestions, and all these will be taken on board in our consideration. Follow-up question, Mr. Yu Si-wing. Thank you, Chairman. We know that many the mainland tourists come to Hong Kong and don't stay overnight. They are day visitors. I believe there will be many going to Tung Chung. With the island built, there will be visitors coming to buy the daily necessities and other goods. So perhaps you should consider how the shopping facilities to be provided can cater to the needs of day visitors. Would this be part of the study that you are going to conduct, Mr. Horn? Well, if we decide to go for commercial development, such matters will certainly be covered, but it's premature. We need to get money to carry out study first. Are you going to do it? Of course, I would like to see it done. Are you going to do? You are going to do it? Any follow-up question? Does any other member wish to ask further questions? Dr. Fernando Zhang, thank you, Chairman. This is a boundary crossing facility, and a shopping center will be provided at the so-called bridgehead economy. At the panel, we try to understand more about the concept. The administration's concept would cover things such as commercial facilities, shopping, recreation, leisure services, and the like. It's expected that mainland visitors can drive to these facilities in their own cars without the need to enter Hong Kong first, and they can do shopping there. We asked questions, but we didn't get good answers. Is that going to happen? We don't know. What are the factors that you need to consider? Are you expecting commercial activities of this nature to take place? That would affect our decision whether we should approve funding or support funding to this item. So are you going to, once again, do you have this idea that the commercial activities that would take place there would allow visitors who have not yet entered Hong Kong from the mainland to shop there, to carry out other recreational and leisure activities there? Mr. Horn, as we explained very clearly to the panel and also to the PWSC, well, this facility is at a very good location. It's at the so-called bridgehead of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. And it would just take 1 hour to go to Macau and Zhuhai. And 3 hours you can reach West Pearl River Delta. So this boundary crossing facility would attract more visitors. We are talking about 130 hectares of land, and we can have some topside development or even underground development. In the past 10 years, the demand has increased for a lot, and the supply is not able to catch up. We're not going to let go the opportunity lightly. We believe that there will be 3 million square feet of premises to be made available. But it's premature to say one way or the other whether we're going to go for certain activities. I've heard many suggestions from members. We have made no decision yet, but the location is so convenient. It's close to the airport. Whether we're talking about economic development or commercial activity, it's a very well located position. So we'd like to get the funding approval so that we can actually carry out a study. Now you want to get funding for a study. The artificial island project is now being carried out in earnest, and we have got plans, building plans for the topside development. You can see such plans on the internet. One of the crucial issues is that are you going to allow economic activities there to cater for those visitors who have not yet entered Hong Kong? Why are you trying to hide something from us? Why can't you come clean? That Hong Kong has now decided to build this boundary crossing facilities, which would allow certain activities to take place, including allowing mainland visitors to come to shore without the need of entering Hong Kong. It may be a very good way to boost economic revenue. You have to tell us whether this is going to happen. Should we fund such activities, such facilities, and such activities? Why don't you tell us clearly what is going to happen? Actually, we're talking about boundary crossing facilities, and this study is about the possible topside development of the facilities. We are going to have 130 hectares of land and road, and there's the possibility of topside development. And also on top of the boundary crossing facilities, the overarching principle is that the operation of the boundary crossing point will not be affected in any way. Mr. Lee Chuk-yan, well, I've read this paper. It's not just a study. It's not as simple as that. It's a study to look into how to build the topside development and how to go for underground developments to support economic or commercial activities. What kind of commercial activities or economic activities are you going to support? Are they good for Hong Kong? There's no need to conduct this study. We should have a discussion on whether such commercial or economic activities should be supported first. We cannot just allow you to carry out a study without knowing whether we would like to support those activities. This is putting the cart before the horse. Perhaps we should first of all talk about the economic activities or commercial activities that should be allowed. Some people have been saying that we should allow people to shop there. We have said that for visitors who are going to stay for a few nights, they contribute more to our economy. But if they are just day visitors, we are going to have a large number of visitors, but the economic benefit is small. And some also say that this would do away with parallel goods traders. But perhaps the traders will go to this boundary crossing island instead. And we also have to consider whether we are going to provide a columbarium there. Are you going to look into this? It seems that different people have asked for different facilities to be provided there. It can be a columbarium. At the same time, you have a cemetery, eateries, a theme park, and a hawkers permitted area, and so on. We are not sure what kind of economic activities should be allowed, and that should not be the case. We should discuss whether we should promote certain activities there before we decide whether we should have development topside or underground. Mr. Horn, at this early stage, we cannot really tell what kind of economic activity should be supported there. As I've said, the geographical location is very convenient. It's just at the head of the Hong Kong-Macau Bridge, and it's close to a very busy airport. In other countries, such a location will be considered very convenient. For example, in Amsterdam, there's a near Schiphol. The throughput is similar to ours. We have 4.2 million tons. They have got 1.7 million tons, and the location is now facilitating 500 odd international cosmopolitan corporations, and they have business parks, hotels, recreational facilities, a golf course, and also a casino. So it's difficult to say which way we would go. We hope that with the funding approval, we can sort of position ourselves through the study. And of course, in the process, we are going to listen to comments. There may be many different ideas and suggestions, but we can only proceed to the details later. Why can't we have a discussion now? Do you have no one in the government that is doing the study, and you need to get the funding first? You are not just looking at the activities. You want to build something there. It would be sort of a commercial facility, commercial center. Should we have one? Let's have a discussion. This is really strange. You want to put so many things there, including a columbarium. It shouldn't be just a study by the Works Department. It should be a government study on the positioning of the facilities, and then we can talk about how construction should be carried out. Whether things are interrelated, we have to look at the positioning, market positioning, and also the construction aspects. Things are interconnected, interrelated. So we need to get funds to carry out study, to know which direction is the best for us. Mr. Albert Chan. Thank you, Chairman. I really appreciate the sincerity and the seriousness with which the director handles matters. When things go to your department, it's about civil engineering study. The policy should have been set, and the policy should have been discussed many rounds, and there should have been consultation. The chairman has said that some questions shouldn't be put at this committee. But from the questions and the answers, we can say that this is not the appropriate time to seek the funding of this study. As I've said, after C.Y. Leung became the CE, things are rather difficult to follow. Senior government officials such as C.Y. Leung or Mr. Chen Mao-bo and their cronies would decide what should be done. They are not going to follow the procedures. Suddenly they talk about the reclamation project or a commercial facility at the boundary crossing point of Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. It seems that the officials can just make decisions just like that without any discussion. They claim to have had discussions. For example, a consultation committee on Lantau development, and they appoint their own people to sit on those committees. It's not credible.
And after they've had a discussion, they've decided to have a shopping arcade or shopping city on Lantau Island. I've just been telling you, like I'm teaching a kid, well, you have to first plan for Hong Kong and then plan for district and then plan for the community. It has to be step by steps. And you have done the same with the reclamation in the middle area. Those who benefit are those. The people who benefit are those who control these decisions behind the scene. The plan will affect people's interest. Sometimes if you draw the line a bit further, then you turn someone who's poor into a millionaire. The administration wants, will give special privilege to certain people, and then they will have vested interest. Not you, not the Liberal Party, DAB or Leung supporters. They support what they support because of benefits. And recently we've had cases, there's one of them who's not doing so well because he has filed for bankruptcy or someone has done it for him. It's because there is no proper study. On Wednesday, there was a motion asking the THB to conduct a fourth comprehensive transport survey. And it's been rejected outright. You don't want a study because you don't want a consultant to give you advice. You just want to do whatever you want to do. This is disastrous for Hong Kong. There was a bad decision made just now. It's the incinerator. And there is another one. And they're all on Lantau. There's also the Sunny Bay project. You see a series of disasters. I really respect the technocrats sitting here, but sometimes there are political decisions to be made. Would you need an answer? No, I don't need an answer because I will hear the same thing. I want it on the record so Hong Kong people will understand better. Well, some have started to wake up, even those loyalists, because they see that planning is all about giving benefits to Leung supporters. You see that even for Cheung Kong Holdings, they don't enjoy an advantageous position like they did before. So I want to veto this proposal so that there won't be any more transfer of interests. Mr. Alan Leung. Well, I would like to ask questions for Tung Chung residents. Well, we don't really know what possible commercial activities, there is going to be the funding application of $63 million is to commission a consultant to look into the many possibilities or options. A lot of Kwun Tong residents are very concerned about air pollution. They're concerned about further pollution. If this funding proposal is endorsed, when will their concern be addressed? Paragraph 15 of the document says that depending on the final scale and scope of the development proposals, the study and the recommended supporting infrastructures may be classified as designated projects under Schedules 3 and 2 of the EIAO. And then EIA will be conducted in compliance with the EIAO Technical Memorandum of the EIA process and the EIA study brief. Well, say I am a Kwun Tong resident. I am concerned that in the future, the planned activities, say for example commercial activities, will generate more traffic, thereby increasing the amount of pollutant that will affect Kwun Tong residents from now till 2018. When will Kwun Tong residents' concern be addressed? We understand concern in relation to air quality. There's been road planned for the airport island that will be linked to the north of Lantau. If there are commercial development, then yes, there may be an increase in traffic. But it's the government's policy to use railway service as the backbone. So with the visitors will first use train services. We're asked if we can use railway service to link up that and the airport island. We will look into it. If EIA is to be done for certain projects, then we will do it, and we'll take good care to do it properly. There will be ample time during the EIA process for people to express their views. There will be public engagement. In paragraph 3, it says the scope of 77 OCL comprises this and that. If certain activities will give rise to possible problems, say for example, the environment or air quality, how will the consultant inform Kwun Tong residents so that they can express their views? That is something to do with the planning process, and I will defer to the planning department. In the OZP, the BCP is now zoned as other unspecified use, BCP or BCF. If necessary, we will go through the planning process, but that will be after we have the result. It will take about a year. there will be public consultation. So when you commission a consultant to consult residents, it will be done in the coming few years? Or do we have to wait till after the consultant has done its work? Who is to take this question? Mr. Horn. We will conduct a public engagement exercise. Members of the public may express their views then. Mr. Lee Chuk-yen, second round, 3 minutes. I want to follow up on my previous question. We're talking about $60 million given to one consultant or what? I see two very different disciplines, economic planning and engineering. So there are two consultants, one for planning and the other one for engineering, or what? As we know that those who are in engineering, they don't know about commercial or planning when it comes to economic activities. I see that from the breakdown, when it comes to planning and construction, just over 10 million. So if it's just architectural, then it's less than 10 million. And the officials sitting here is not they're not experts of economic activities planning. You're more the engineering side. So you ask a consultant to take up economic planning as well. It seems illogical. So do you have in mind one single consultant or more? One consultant engineer. We realize that one single engineer may not cover all the different disciplines. If the company does not have professionals in the relevant discipline, they will have to engage other subsidiaries or companies. We have EIA report, we have construction, we have planning. We don't want to split it up into different consultants because there won't be any synergy. We think that one single consultant engineer will give us a synergy and it will be more efficient. We closely liaise with the planning department. The two departments will be working closely together, so you can rest assured that there will be coordination. So you give the economic planning to a consultant who doesn't have that expertise, and that consultant is going to engage some other people to do it. They may not choose the best one, and you don't even know how they choose. Well, for the engineering and architectural planning is the expertise of the consultant. I think by engaging only one consultant, it will mess things up, because importance will be given to architecture and not economic planning. We require the consultant to know about planning, engineering, and architecture. It's very rare that we have only 3 minutes in second round. But sometimes we start with the first round with 4 minutes. But if you need more than 3 minutes, you can continue. You move the goalpost again. Your time has already started. And I'm just expressing the satisfaction that you've changed it to 3 minutes. I know you're in a hurry, but you don't have to do it this way. I'm not in a hurry. I'm not rushing. You have wasted your time. It's only 6 o'clock. I can ask questions till 2047 if I'm still alive. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen asked a number of questions, but the answer from the administration are far from satisfactory about columbarium. But in the past, well, when it comes to land uses, they are usually supported with justification. The location of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. When funding approval was given, it was said that is because of inbound traffic, parking, work of the immigration department and the CNE department. That's why they needed such a large reclaimed site. And it was specified that it is for clearance, immigration, from and a link from Tuen Mun to Tung Chung, because there is a need. Now, this huge site, which was for immigration and transportation, is now changed to commercial activities. So where Chinese white dolphins die for nothing because of the huge reclamation, less and less Chinese white dolphin will survive. So they are sacrificed and they die for nothing. There is no such need, because the original plan was for border control point and for transportation, and now you want to turn it into a center for commercial activities. It's just like when I asked about aviation pollution at the electrical, the Secretary Bureau couldn't answer me. He talked about Tung Chung, Pearl River Delta, but not aviation pollution. We're talking about a huge amount of over 1,000, a large amount of pollutants. This is just another gas chamber, Hong Kong's new gas chamber. Second round, Ms. Anne Chang. I strongly support the administration's proposal of development of the top side of the artificial island. We're talking about 130 hectares of land. You wouldn't have just 2 stories of BCF. If you can further develop the top side, it will be better. You can explore whether it can be office buildings, hotels, or government offices. Use some as shopping malls. There are many possibilities. Don't repeat what's happening at Kai Tak. There are only 2 floors. You did not consider developing the top side at all, and there was insufficient number of visitors. I support the administration. We're talking about 130 hectares. It can be a huge development on the top side. If you not decide on the positioning, when are you going to decide about the top side development? If you decide later, then you may find later that the foundation does not support a huge structure. Just don't object for the sake of it. It will be beneficial to Tung Chung residents because there will be more jobs. Support what is right. Please consider it. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, 5 minutes. I've always opposed to it. It's just that it's useless. You hijack Hong Kong people's wish. Not mine. I don't mean you trample on me, but you trample on Hong Kong people. If I die when I'm in my 70s, I still have about 10 years or so. I don't mind it so much because when I die, it won't bother me. Please do not engage in a direct dialogue. Yes, but that person's talking to me about when to die. I would like to go to hell because at least I can smoke.
This bridge is actually time-consuming. The anticipated passenger volume and cargo volume won't emerge. You see, the FTZ in Shanghai has opened for a year. Nobody wants to go there. The River Loop in Shanghai, well, you estimated that the economy of China will develop endlessly. You see, they are conducting an anti-corruption campaign. I've never seen a government like this. When the other side wants to develop a particular site, we just try to cope. Well, let me tell you, the party secretaries that you now have a very good relationship with may be arrested. You see, a party secretary of a particular municipality visited Hong Kong and immediately afterwards he was arrested. Well, he wants to do this and that, and many people say, oh, this is very good. This Hong Kong Zhuhai-Macau Bridge started for the sake of Macau and Zhuhai. I would like to know what will come from Zhuhai and Macau in future. And even if there are people and cargoes coming to Hong Kong, they can come by another route. This is a huge bridge. You have to operate and maintain it in future. Just look at Japan. They have the same. All the highways are managed by corporations formed by retired civil servants. Well, you don't need to worry. Hong Kong civil servants are not that bad at the moment. You see, people will reap huge profits out of this. Originally, we do not need this white elephant. But this white elephant will generate profits for a lot of people. Well, Dr. Cheng Lai-wan already told you before that we don't need this bridge. All right, this bridge was endorsed. It's now a white elephant. Well, construction cost, maintenance cost, all these need money. Will you be able to find customers? Can you find customers? You don't need to think about it. This is excessive development. The same happens on the mainland. In Mongolia, Inner Mongolia, they have a ghost city. After completion, nobody lived there. It doesn't matter. You can construct a lot of things. Yes, this ghost city in Inner Mongolia is very famous. Just talk to mainlanders. It's better to build a ghost city, they may say, but who will patronize the ghost city? It will be used for film production only in future. This is something bad. This is a mistake, but you're asking us to continue to dump money into this mistake. Mr. Tommy Chung, I will oppose this. They host the banquet and we foot the bill. The over or excessive expenditure can be used for 2 universal retirement protection schemes. You don't need to tell me anymore. You are making mistakes after mistakes. Mr. Chen Chi-chun, Mr. Chairman, I don't understand the enclosure, the annex of this paper, so I have to ask questions. There it is said that planning for over 10 commercial activities. We all understand what commercial activities are. But here, what they say is commercial development and the development of other economic activities. What are these other economic activities? What are these other economic activities? Activities other than commercial activities. I don't understand this. And just now a member asked about paragraph 6, shopping, dining, entertainment, hotel facilities. We understand these. But what about creative industries, logistics industries, and columbarium? In fact, logistics industries are economic activities. So what do you mean by other economic activities? You are treating us like children. So there will be a lot of other economic activities. In fact, all these are economic activities. If the whole artificial island is to become a columbarium, everybody will go to sweep graves on Lantau. It doesn't matter. But you are just being wishy-washy in this paragraph. This is just to tell us that you have pluralistic considerations. Well, it doesn't matter. We can have columbarium in the airport or even in the World Asia Expo or Asia World Expo. Mr. Chairman, for economic activity, usually we'll think of shopping, dining, hotel facilities, and so forth. When we went to the PWSC, we basically put down commercial development. But some members said that we shouldn't just eye commercial development. We should be more diversified. Some members even proposed columbarium. That's why we're citing these examples for economic activities. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have funeral businesses there. We may have creative industries, including advertisement companies, market survey companies, or leisure activities, industrial activities like logistics, as members mentioned. So we're just putting in more possibilities. In fact, we don't yet have 100% finalized positioning. After obtaining funding, we'll ask the consultant engineer to give us more ideas. We would like to collect more views on superstructure development. Mr. Chairman, what I really want to say is that this paper is poorly written. Well, when you say other economic activities, we're thinking of non-commercial development. That is, your meaning is actually shopping, dining, entertainment, plus something else. Well, Mr. Chairman, we have a broad horizon. After we have the funds, we can start the study. Well, from what the government said, this columbarium is not true. The government just wants to show that it has adopted a broad spectrum of members' views. That's what I heard from the official. Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to add. Any more comments? No. First round, Mr. Chen Han-pen, 5 minutes. Mr. Chairman, in the past, when we mentioned Tong Chong, we criticized that the industries there are not diversified enough. There's a mismatch between workers and jobs. By way of this project, we would like to have a diversified range of commercial activities. In 2003, I moved a motion, or 2013, I moved a motion with an overwhelming majority support from members except one. I asked the administration to study how to do bridgehead economy well, etc., etc. Members' inclination was very clear at that time. Today, some members oppose for the sake of opposing. This is like parliamentary hegemony. It's not just filibustering now. They don't even let the government conduct a study. Whether or not this should be developed, we should start with a study. They are too barbaric because they're even blocking this study. This is not constructive. We should work for the benefit of Tung Chung residents, for Hong Kong, so we should allow this project to proceed as soon as possible. The job types will be more diversified in Tung Chung. The young people there will have more hope. So for the filibustering councillors, please let this project proceed. Mr. Alan Leung, 3 minutes. Mr. Chairman, we are of course duty-bound to serve as gatekeepers on behalf of the general public. Otherwise, it will be just like the Civil Aviation Department's complex. In paragraph 3 of the paper, the scope of the project is set out. They need experts on at least 4 to 5 fronts. Well, plan engineering and architecture, one expert, market study, another expert, environmental assessment, another expert, and then how to expedite the development, to expedite the availability of the development sites. You may need another expert for that. You now propose one consultant for $63.4 million. They'd rather do this. C.Y. Leung should just commission one consultant to do all the jobs for him, and then he can sit there and earn $300,000 per month. In the civil service establishment, we have 130 to 140,000 civil servants. What are they doing? These are at least 4 to 5 professional areas. They want to commission a consultancy to help them do the work, and the LegCo is asked to grant them $63.4 million. And then the civil servants can just sit there and get paid. I'm not convinced. Mr. Chairman, one consultant engineer has a merit. He will do coordination. That doesn't mean that that consultant engineer covers all professions. Estate surveyors, architects, professionals who know EIA, professional engineers, etc. are required. So we would require the consultancy to have all these professional qualifications before they can be given the contract. For the planning department, for these planning requirements, we've all along been engaged in very strong synergy collaboration. The two departments join hands in commissioning one consultant engineer who possesses all these professional qualifications to produce the product. So members need not worry. Dr. Kwokaki, first round, 5 minutes. Mr. Chairman, these development projects on Lantau really worry us. pollution in Tung Chung is deteriorating, caused partly by the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. And now more emission is brought to Tung Chung. With this artificial island, best suits Tung Chung citizens and other members of the public as a leisure site. Now we're told that a huge volume of economic activities are to be put there, even including columbarium. I just want to know how columbarium is to be provided on the artificial island. Where comes the idea? Mr. Hon, I said that in the PWSC, some members asked whether or not we could put columbarium services there. But that doesn't mean that in future we'll definitely have funeral services there. We must first obtain funding first before we can position ourselves and carry out the related technical studies. Then I'll be able to tell you the direction of development. Dr. Kwok, well, I think he was making a casual remark. He just casually mentioned columbarium. Why didn't you mention a park of 130 hectares with sufficient facilities for the residents there? Don't forget, be it Lantau or Tung Chung, the residents there have contributed a lot to economic development. Well, cycle tracks are very simple, but among government departments, they are passing the buck among them. Basically, nothing is done. We're talking about 130 hectares. You should give it back to Hong Kong people such that they can enjoy the site. In the past 10 years, due to white elephant projects like the individual visit scheme, the public has been suffering, particularly Tung Chung residents. During weekends and holidays, please go to Tung Chung. Basically, they have nowhere to breathe. They can't even have eateries and simple activities. Tourists are seen everywhere. They can't even have transport. So you have to give back the site to them. You're not able to do so. Instead, you're adding to their burden. This will add to the TNT burden and environmental burden on them. You'll be moving more people there. A new plan will be put in place to enhance the population by 200,000 people. And extremely polluting industries and activities that attract a great deal of traffic will be brought there. So you're actually harming them. Why should the government do this? Mr. Hott? I've mentioned the geographical position of the artificial island. It's very near to the airport island. It will be a bridgehead. The best solution is to use the site for commercial or economic development. Well, we have constraints there. Tung Chung residents need public space, public open space. As members mentioned, we now have plans to further develop the Tung Chung New Town, and there will plan new public open space for the use of the residents. Lantau Island is not small. On the southern part, there can be sites for sports and recreation. So I would like members to understand this project from that angle. Dr. Kwok Kaki, any follow-up question? No. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, your second round, 3 minutes. After hearing Mr. Chen Han-pan, I really think that he was correct. Employment is, of course, important. But for this island, number one, let me repeat that this bridge is a waste in history. Back then, were dreaming of an integration of Hong Kong, Macau, and Zhuhai. I, of course, don't want to give you money for this island because it's a waste. If we want to resolve the employment problem of Tung Chung, tell me how this island can solve that problem. How many more jobs will the superstructure generate? When you want job opportunities, you can actually provide jobs elsewhere. You just want to force this project upon us. Infrastructure like highways, if they are not to be used, you still need to spend money on maintenance and repair. But for schools, hospitals, and so forth, they'll always be useful. And after constructing a hospital or a school, you can always generate jobs. You won't just see bricks and stones there. Well, will anybody refurbish a highway? No. But if you build a school, you need to refurbish it. You need a lot of laborers. Such projects are labor intensive, both before and after construction. The FTU understands this. For all white elephant projects, the jobs will vanish after completion. And such white elephant projects are very expensive. If you want to solve employment problems, you will not go for this kind of projects.
I would ask John Zhang to build more community halls, more rehab facilities, asking Hong Kong people to do the job, to serve local people. But that's not what you're asking. Are you in favor of building more community facilities and RCHEs, labor-intensive facilities there? Don't build a white elephant there. Mr. Chang Han-pan, second round, 3 minutes. Thank you, Chairman. I thank Mr. Leung Kwok-hong for agreeing with me that employment is important. But Mr. Leung is contradicting himself. He asked the government officials how many jobs will be created. But that's why we need a study. The study is important. Many people have criticized that the Tung Chung shopping facility is always crowded during the weekend because there are many visitors. Tung Chung also needs facilities, shopping facilities, and so on and so forth for the tourists. And this island location will provide the opportunities we need. Mr. Leung Kwok asked that the island should be used as a park or for leisure. Do you know how far away this is from the residential area in Tung Chung? If we use it for leisure, it would be truly a white elephant. So the government should take a look, conduct a study to see what kind of commercial activity should be supported there. And some parties make use of an old lady called Leung to go to the court to challenge this project, and the taxpayer has to pay hundreds of millions of dollars more. And now we have this bridge there. We want to make the best use of the land available, and we should conduct a study to see what should be done, what should be supported. I don't know whether those members are dozing away while we discuss this. They are not being logical. I hope they would explain to Tung Chung residents on what they would like to get done. Are they trying to get in the way of development on this island? or to waste taxpayers' money to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars? Are they trying to repeat what they did in the past? Dr. Kwok, second round, 3 minutes. This is a show of the pro-establishment camp as demonstrated by Mr. Chen Hanban. Whatever facility is there to link up with the mainland should be done. This is a waste of taxpayers' money. We spend tens of billions of dollars on this bridge. You have members representing Tung Chung, and you just claim that you are trying to promote the interests of Tung Chung. Tung Chung residents are those who suffer from the project, and you are just pretending that you don't know, and you are not doing what you preach. And now the population of Tung Chung is going to be increased to 200,000. There are no one from the transport department. We have been told that we cannot increase the capacity of Tung Chung line. The demand, the transport need is so high, and even the bride knows that air pollution is so serious in Tung Chung. So what are you going to safeguard the interests of the residents there? You're just doing whatever the mainland wants us to do. We have to remember this. All people must remember what the DAB has done to us. Well, we are not saying that this should not be done. We are asking about the implications for Tung Chung residents. These projects cost tens of billions of dollars. And now we do not have a universal retirement protection scheme. We don't have money for RCHEs, for hospitals, for this artificial island. 130 hectares of artificial island. They are just trying to get, for the first time, $60 million. And they are just trying to construct facilities for IVS tourists, not for Hong Kong people. We all know what kind of benefits these visitors can bring to us. So just look at the North Districts and also look at Tuen Mun and Yunnan. Only developers will stand to benefit. There will be a lot of goldsmith shops, jewelry shops, and cafes and restaurants will be gone. It's time that we rectify past mistakes. We should do something to protect the residents of Tung Chung. And you don't agree? Well, this council has deteriorated to such an extent. Of course, you have sufficient votes. You are just ignoring the interests of Tung Chung. This is most regrettable. Mr. Albert Chan, 2 minutes. Well, so you're in such a hurry to go home. We have to look carefully and clearly on the nature of this project. If you want to build an island and do something to promote the economy, people's power will certainly support it. But these are not genuine economic and commercial activities. You're not creating real jobs. Look at Causeway Bay, Nathan Road, and the North District. The so-called economic activities are only carried out by parallel goods traders. There's a lot of collusion, and there's just a lot of government business collusion. You are providing facilities for these locusts. Look at the salary of university graduates. Nothing much has changed for their pay for 10 years. These are rogue politicians advocating building such facilities to benefit mainland visitors. This is just a repeat of the Lane Reid. In the past, housing department shopping centers have cafes and small shops a cup of tea with milk costs you $6 or $8. Now it's more than $10 or even $20. This is actually an attempt to transfer benefits to big corporations. The DAB supported the IPO of the Ling REIT, and now they are saying that we should buy the shopping facilities back from the Ling REIT. So they are trying to get the best of both worlds. Mr. Albert Chan. Mr. Albert Chan. Mr. Albert Chan. If you continue to interfere with our meeting, I will ask you to go. Mr. Gary Fang, 5 minutes. In the government's estimation, the study will be completed in February 2017. And if the project will go ahead as scheduled, then it will be in parallel with the third runway project. So are you going to conduct an ecological study on the two projects as a whole instead of separately for each and every project? Are you going to do this? If not, then please explain why not. Well, this artificial island is not going to involve any more reclamation. We're just planning on the topside development on the island. And the island is only sufficient to locate, to provide for the cross-boundary facilities. And we just want to provide for the optimum development. We believe there will be 3 million square feet of facilities, but that's dependent on the outcome of the study. So initially speaking, there will not be any significant ecological impact. But of course, we're going to look at the additional sewage to be generated. Are you talking about sewage? Yes, if there are new developments, there will be sewage. But we're going to provide sewage treatment facilities. But with our study, there's no final option. Of course, we need to handle the discharge of sewage. Or maybe we can have a sewage sewerage that would take the sewage to the discharge to a treatment facility. As regards the third runway, I understand that the EIA has been conducted. According to the ordinance, we have to take the EIA for the third runway as a given, and that is to say, the EIA, the third runway should be considered in our project. Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan, for the third round, why are we described as being abusive just by asking questions? Are you saying that we shouldn't ask any questions and then we will not be abusing our power? You are just blindly supporting the government. You don't really know what we're talking about. We don't want to approve this item, and then the economic development for Hong Kong is moving in a certain direction that we don't know, and there's no turning back. If you approve the carrying out of the study, and then they build everything, you cannot then oppose to the facilities and the activities there. You may say that we may object at a later stage, but the $60 million would have been spent. So I'm saying that we should have a study on the economic activities to be supported there before we carry out a study on the construction project. Well, I'm not against the proposed economic activities. It's just that we don't have a clear idea what we should do. Say if we decide to have a columbarium. And then if they ask for the cost of construction to be funded, you would object. I don't want to have just retail facilities and hotels on this island. We want to have a diversified economy. This should be for logistics. It's close to the airport. We don't have just shops, Chanel, LV, and we all do the same thing. I just want to break it into two things. We do the economic study first. Mr. Leung, go home 2 minutes. I think Mr. Chen Hanban has misunderstood me. I'm just saying this is superfluous. This island is superfluous. And providing superfluous facilities would be superfluous. I'm not suggesting that we should have recreational ground there. There's no need to reclaim an island on the sea with no good reason. And now you want a bridge, and therefore you need a bridge. And now with a bridge, with an island, you want to build some shopping centers there. So please don't understand the matter wrongly. We have to look at the planning as a whole. Do we have land near Hong Chung residential areas, and whether we can provide jobs close by? Of course, this is something for the government to consider, and the government has a poor track record on this. And second, you want to build a railway to link up our airport to Samchuan Airport. I don't know what for. Are we going to use it for freight going to Samchuan, or is it the other way round? If you build a railway and the Hong Kong-Zhuhai Macau Bridge, what kind of freight will be carried through this? Mr. Li Ka-shing has already got container facilities on the mainland. You are just saying that it's better than nothing, and there is bound to be some economic benefits. That's the way you see it. Mr. Emily Lau, I've heard so many members speaking. Some of the questions remain unanswered. Without any good reason, now you just include this reference to economic activities, including columbarium. How can you create jobs through a columbarium, and you want to have shops selling luxury goods alongside a columbarium? Please don't do that. He said that at the panel meeting that there were some suggestions, and you just obliged by incorporating such references. Please think it over carefully. Should these things be developed side by side? And that's a question of whether the facilities are for Hong Kong people or for the transit tourists. It seems that you don't have any answer. Are you going to ask your consultant the same questions? Can we have an answer now? I think we have already asked the director to have a few goes on this. Please try to do again. Well, there was a suggestion at the panel meeting that why don't we consider a columbarium? It doesn't mean that it's a suitable location for a columbarium, or the columbarium should be provided alongside other facilities. I personally have a lot of reservation. Then it shouldn't be put in the paper. There are many possibilities with regard to the economic activities. We want to have a broad horizon in considering the things. And you don't personally agree, and you just put it in, and you want to ask the consultant to consider this, and in the process, we will spend tens of millions of dollars. Is that the way of going about our planning? I don't think you should just put down anything just because some members have suggested them. Are you going to ask the consultant to look into these proposals? Or the consultant will look at the direction of the development? The planning department and my department would certainly assess whether the direction proposed is the right way to go. We are also going to have a public consultation. We want to benefit from the collective wisdom, so to speak. So who will go there? Are the facilities for local people or what? Well, there's no decision yet. Of course, this is on the bridge of the boundary crossing facilities. There will be tourists. Whether we are talking about tourists who are in transit or who have entered Hong Kong, we would conduct a study to look into this. You must provide for the facilities if you want to do this. The boundary crossing facilities are already there. Now we're talking about additional topside development. We have to take a detailed look on whether the visitors should be admitted into Hong Kong first. Why is it so strange? If you have the boundary crossing facilities there, you should ask them to pass the boundary crossing facilities there. That's why people have doubts. Well, we have boundary crossing facilities there, but as to the detailed arrangement, we'll have to take a look in detail. Well, if that's a way of doing it, we won't achieve anything in 20 years. We must first of all consider whether the proposals are logical or in line with the interests of Hong Kong. If you just put in all the suggestions from different people, and then you ask the consultant to look into those proposals, and in the process, the consultancy is going to cost us tens of millions of dollars.
Well, when it comes to the scope of the study, we will discuss with the consultant. So you don't know yet. We will have to have the money first. So you talk about commercial activities, column barrier, and then perhaps in the end, after the study, you say that no, there is no need to have any column barrier. I will charge you nothing and tell you that there is no need to have a column barrier there. Mr. Chan Han-Pang speaking for the third time, 2 minutes. I agree with Ms. Emily Lau. If we continue the discussion, it will still remain unbuilt for another 20 years. But I think if they filibuster or if they object for the sake of it, then it gives the impression that they actually don't have a leg to stand on. There has been a long discussion in the Economic Development Panel and a long discussion in the PWSC. And then finally, it comes to us here. It shows that a lot of Tung Chung residents would like to see it happen. And Citygate is a commercial, is a shopping mall. Rentals are high. Saturdays and Sundays, it's crowded. You have to queue for a long time when you go there to eat. We have a very urgent need to have commercial space. The artificial island is a perfect place. Tung Chung residents will have to open your eyes and see who is actually getting in your way. When it comes to waste of taxpayers' money, you will have to look at what the Civic Party does. I ask members of the public to see clearly who is actually in the way of Tung Chung development. Who caused you to live in a crowded place? Who caused the increase in prices. I ask members to come back to the issue and ask questions of the officials and refrain from making speeches. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, first round, 5 minutes. Hong Kong Zhuhai Macau Bridge is very important for Hong Kong's economy. When it comes to passenger flow of goods, the Hong Kong Zhuhai Macau Bridge is very important. If we only have weather control facilities on the artificial island and nothing else, it's a waste, massive waste. So we have to consider other facilities on the island. That we need a professional to look into it. From my experience as a merchant, I will need someone to study footfall. If there is a heavy footfall, that means there is good business. We also have to look at the number of visitors, inbound visitors, and Hong Kong people using the border control facilities. And we also have to consider what businesses are good. Where there are people, you need drainage because there is sewage. You can't simply just put them in the sea. You have to treat it. So we're talking about roads, car parks, parking facilities, and many other things. We need to conduct preparation work. This is about preparation work. There will be further development on Lantau Island. There will be more people living there. Then we have to think about jobs. We have to create jobs. And that is an important part of the artificial island. The consultant will have to consider that. And it will cost money because they have to conduct a study. We need to carefully consider all these. Members can read the report when it's ready. When it comes to other ideas, say niches, they will study it and then they will report about it. And they say that we are here to defend the administration. We're actually here to defend the economy. Dr. Fernando Zheng, second round, 3 minutes. Thank you. Mr. Wong Ting Kwong said he has to defend and protect the economy. I'm sure Mr. Wong is a very good businessman. Well, if you're going to do a business, you have to at least know what business it is going to be, whether it's whether it's going to be niches, hotels, retail. We don't even know what business is going to be. How big is it going to be? How big will the shopping mall be? The officials told us that they don't have any idea yet. They asked us for $65 million to engage a consultant to consider all these. Doesn't the administration have any idea whatsoever? We're talking about a long time of discussion when it comes to the Hong Kong-Macau-Zhuhai Bridge, Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, and it's near completion. They have thought about everything, connecting points, infrastructure. Now all of a sudden they come here to ask us for money for a consultant study. And they said that they don't have any idea. And if there's someone suggests anything, say columbarium, they may consider it. Then what about an international school, or a vegetable market, or a sorting facility for a live chicken like the one in Taku Lake, because it's quite controversial. I've never seen a government as incompetent as this one. You just put everything into it and then ask the consultant to consider it, and the consultant will deal with everything. Business assessment, security, transportation, commercial, planning. If the consultant is so competent that we only need the consultant, we don't need this group of officials here. We have the duty to monitor the government and to make sure that public money is properly used. Dr. Kokaki, 2 minutes, speaking for the third time. Of course, they are not as ignorant as they appear to be. We're talking about 196 engineering staff members and also 60 professionals. Every time they ask us for money, $60 million, and they always go to the same people, the pocket of the same people. $60 million. Why do you always need a consultant? There are a lot of planners and engineers in the government. You don't even set the scope. You have nothing in your brain. You need someone outside to tell you what to do. It's an insult to the civil service. You should sit down, think about what can be done and what can't be before you spend the $60 million. And I'm afraid the $60 million is going to go to one of those usual names. I'm not going to name them. I'm not going to name them. Artificial island costs us $1 trillion. This eats up all the public money. There's nothing for our elderly people, nothing for health care, nothing for education, nothing for universal retirement protection. Why don't you do the work for the first stage before you ask the consultant to take it up? Mr. Hon, we have some preliminary ideas. We see that there can be a gross floor area of about 3 million square feet. We need the money to conduct a detailed study. Well, market positioning is something else, but they're all linked together. What are the infrastructures? What about sewage? They are all interlinked. And we need to know about them before we can decide on the positioning. Ms. Sit Ho. 5 minutes. We've been talking about the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge for a long time. I remember back in 1997, at the time of the reunification, the team in the colonial government strongly opposed to this project. However, after the reunification, there was a strong voice for integration between Hong Kong and China. This is a huge island, 130 hectares, 3 West Kowloon. There is a lot of land for a lot of things. But we wonder, this Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge has been under discussion for so long. How come the administration don't have any ideas in mind? After so many years, they now come to us to say that they need a consultant to consider whether it's possible to have commercial activities there. You've waited for so long. So there was opposition, and then the project went ahead, and then the artificial island is built. And still, you didn't think about commercial activities. And another thing is the EIA. There is an EIA study on the artificial island. Say, for example, air pollution as a result of vehicular traffic. What is the scope of this study? Well, I heard from Mr. Hon that whether there are people that will be sewage. I assume that it will not simply be put into the sea. It will be connected to a sewage treatment plant. If you're going to pump it into the sea, of course you need a study. At least you have to have a general idea. Pipe laying, utilities. I thought that would be under the engineering study. So, can you tell me what is under the scope of the EIA study? And how much of it is a duplication with planning, architectural studies, or engineering study? Mr. Hon, I think there are 2 questions there. First, why do we wait till now to propose this? Well, it was only a few years ago when the project of the artificial island was decided. There has been a long discussion. The size of the artificial island was only decided a few years ago. I think the focus back then was on the timetable for it to dovetail with the sections in Macau and on the mainland. And now we've started the study on the top side. The general principle is not to affect the operation of the BCF. We've started talking about the item a few months ago. We would like to get the funding approval to go ahead with the study. Once we have the findings, we can start with the topside project. And in relation to the scope of the EIA, well, we are still at an early stage. We don't know what the infrastructure will be. Of course, there will be EIA, and there will be information about the infrastructure on the environment. Maybe you will see annexure 1 and 2 and 3. It will usually cover the the ecology, air, and traffic, etc. Dr. Kwokaki, 1 minute. But I seem to remember that it was said that in 2027 there will be the peak of pollution. Well, I don't think the airport authority could supply us with information about pollution. How can you give us the information to us? I think after this project starts, we will have sufficient information to go ahead with the EIA.
The next step is precisely infrastructure. Do we need to observe the law and conduct an EIA? As I said, upon obtaining approval, we'll explore the constraints applicable to the airport. 3 minutes, Ms. Sito. Thank you, Chairman. Just now, the Director said that he would observe Schedules 1 and 2 in relation to air quality and water quality under the ordinance. Yes, if you're to have commercial buildings there with air conditioning, then of course the use of electricity will affect air quality. As we said just now, you should do something about water quality. But immediately you're asking us for economic development. You're asking for 130 hectares. The government must make a decision now. For this economic development, how will the sewage treatment system work? Sewage treatment must not affect water quality around the airport. Even now, you're not telling us where will the wastewater go, to the airport or to the sea. And $7.4 million are for site investigation. But this is an artificial island. This work site is unlike other sites where you don't know whether underground you have granite or other kinds of earth. Here, you know what's underground. Do you not know the soil condition underground? What will be the permitted loading? Because this is an artificial island. This is reclaimed. It really depends on the future development before we can measure the quantity of sewage. Say if you are going to have a shopping mall, you have to consider the size of the shopping mall. If it is for industrial development, the pedestrian flow will be different. So at this juncture, we don't know the pedestrian traffic, the sewage generated. Anyway, the sewage will be passed to the sewage treatment plant. On the island, we have sufficient capacities for sewage treatment. The water quality in the vicinity will not be affected. Ms. Ho doesn't have to worry. Paragraph 9 is about financial implications. 0.8 for site investigation. No, for site investigation work, is $7.4 million. This is not a huge sum for such an engineering project. Yes, the island was reclaimed, but 130 hectares is a rather big area. We have to look at the future development area and look at the actual geology. Yes, we know the fillings, the landfilling materials, but further down we don't know. So this investigation work is worthwhile. Mr. Gary Fan, second round or third round, 2 minutes. Well, just the boundary control point is overspending by $5.5 billion, an appalling figure. In order to cope with integration projects implemented blindly. Hong Kong people's money has not been well spent. So will you contain the scale of the facilities of the BCPs so as to offset the overspending? We must not allow the many mainlanders under the IVS to waste Hong Kong people's money on projects with no cost effectiveness. Well, I think Mr. Fan was referring to another project for the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. I believe next week the THB will come to explain about overspending. At the moment, we don't yet know the budget required. We're just asking for $60-odd million for investigation, for study. Will you consider the scale of the project? Yes, of course. Initially, we're talking about 3 million square feet. Hong Kong really needs more land. This is a matter of judgment. You really have to consider a reduction in scale. Will this be one of your options in this study? In terms of supply, be it office space or shopping space, we don't have enough. So we must make good use of this BCP. Any more follow-up questions? Next, Ms. Emily Lau, second round, 3 minutes. Mr. Chairman, just now the director mentioned a shortage of office space. Well, in fact, we have manpower shortage as well. Last time when the administration came to the panel for Tung Chung development, we already asked about the many vacancies, particularly those in the airport. There's nobody to fill the jobs. And then the administration mentioned education and training, in order that jobs created will be filled by people. I don't know whether or not the director knows of the problem. At the moment, many people are finding jobs. If that is the case, then of course you want to create jobs. But the situation is the reverse, unless the situation has changed. And you still want to create so many jobs in future. Who are to fill those jobs? Mr. Chairman, as I said, we're planning for a new project in Tung Chung. At the moment, Tung Chung has a population of 80,000 people. We'll expand Tung Chung. In the long run, we're looking for a population of 200,000 people. In the process of planning for a new town, we would like to create as many jobs as possible in that new town, so as to reduce the burden on public transport infrastructure. So it's good to have job opportunities here. Ms. Lau said that there are jobs unfilled. I'm not sure whether my understanding is correct. There's this problem of mismatch. That is, the jobs don't suit the people or the people don't suit the jobs. Well, Mr. Chairman, of course the consultant will have to look into that problem. The problem is already there. In future, you are going to create more economic and job opportunities. Yes, the director is correct. We'll have this mismatch problem. You have to look into the problem. Don't just create jobs. Otherwise, the same will recur as what's happening on the airport now. Do you know the problem? Mr. Hon? Mr. Chairman, I don't have the figures here, but I heard that there's such a problem. But when Tung Chung is expanded, we're duty-bound to create more jobs. As for matching, I think we can do something. Ms. Emily Lau, no follow-up? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.